Adam Edmonds, and Lidge delivers. He takes ball 4, and now Albert Pujols will come to the plate representing a go-ahead run.
Yordan Alvarez, walk-off home run, first game of the postseason. Game-winning home run, game 2 of the postseason.
I would expect to see all sliders in this at-bat for Brad Lidge.
Yordan Alvarez. He's ahead, 2-1.
0-1 to Pujols.
2-1, Alvarez.
In the air, left field, and Pujols has given St. Louis the lead.
High drive, center field. Veerling's back. This game is turned upside down.
This is the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, the president of Houston Sports Nation, Nick Stevenson.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. My goodness, my fellow Houstonians. Welcome to this final rehearsal for the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast. If you are here, I appreciate you so much for joining me. There's 1,000 things you could be doing this evening besides listening to somebody practice doing a podcast, but you're here and I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you guys bearing with me during some of the technical difficulties. That's been a theme these last few practices, but I keep figuring it out, so I appreciate you guys for riding with me anyway. All right, so on today's show, we're going to talk about the Houston Astros. Should we be concerned about Justin Verlander? What can't CJ Stroud do? And the Houston Rockets are on the other side of the All-Star weekend now. Are they going to be able to make a push for the postseason? And then we want to talk some off the field. I want to know in the chat, guys, what some of your guilty pleasures are outside of sports. Or ladies, is there something that you watch that maybe behind closed doors you watch, but you wouldn't want to tell your friends or maybe your family? Now, I'm not talking about anything inappropriate here. Just a guilty pleasure that you have, and I'm going to get into mine later in the show. But I'd like you guys to tell me in the chat. I know some of you guys, you probably watch Twilight. The Notebook's probably your favorite movie. You can keep it real here. This is the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast. And although I may be the president of Houston Sports Nation, there is no judgment here. I assure you. And we'll get into the chat and let you guys join the conversation. I really appreciate everyone being here, like I said. So there are multiple ways if you'd like to support the show, you are able to do that. Number one, do what you're doing right now. Just watch it and tell your friends about it. Please share. This live stream is going right now on YouTube. It is also on Facebook, Instagram. It is on the app formerly known as Twitter. Plenty of places for you to share. So if you enjoy the content and you have friends who love Houston sports, please share the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast with them. And I really appreciate that. Let's build this thing from the ground up. You guys are a part of it, and I appreciate your support. Also, another way to support, I think I've figured out how to point to this thing now. There it is. That QR code right there will take you to my tip jar. Also, there's a link in the description of the video that you're watching, whether it be on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You guys can click that link and you can leave me a donation. And if you leave a donation of $50 or more, I'm going to send you a free t-shirt. My good friend Ricardo Palacios did so last week, and his shirt is in the mail. And I do appreciate everyone who supports me. Anything that you put into this podcast or donate to the podcast, I assure you is going to go right back into trying to make great content for you guys. So yeah, that's how you can support now. I am also working on getting some affiliate links. I actually have some through Amazon, and I'll be putting those links in the descriptions as well. You're going to buy something off Amazon anyways, right? Might as well use my link and give me a little ching, a little change on it. I appreciate it very much. That's the button I was looking for. So yeah, I appreciate you guys very much. Once again, I was letting you guys know I have a couple of big announcements. I'll wait till later in the show. I do have a release premiere date that I would like to announce, and then some other things that are going on in the world of Stevenson Media. Very, very exciting stuff. But what are you here for? You're here for the State of the Union for the Houston sports. Let's start with the state of the Houston Astros. Okay. The Astros are in spring training. Finally, feels like it's been forever. And so much optimism surrounding the team until we heard that Justin Verlander may be behind schedule due to a shoulder injury. The question is, should we be concerned about this? Now, Justin Verlander is 41 years old. I'm not going to talk crap about Justin Verlander because I will be 40 in May. But I guarantee you, I'm not as good as my job as I was when I was 22. So I think there are some legitimate concerns about his age, as about his ability to perform at the level he's become accustomed to, and his ability to hold up for the entirety of the season. Now, if Justin Verlander misses a game here and there, whether it be rest, soreness in his arm, that I'm not concerned about. But the Astros are going to need him to pitch a significant number of games and a significant number of innings because aside from the addition of Josh Hader, there wasn't a whole lot of big splashes that they made as far as their pitching staff is concerned or the roster at all. It actually reminds me very, very much of the time that in 2004, they made a run to the, at the time, National League championship, fell short to the Cardinals, and then the next season, although they did end up making the World Series that year, in the offseason between 2004 and 2005, they kind of just stood pat. And what they were depending on at that time is for people who were already on the team to step up their game. And that reminds me an awful lot of this team. The addition of Josh Hader, we talked about it in the previous rehearsal. I think it's a great addition. I think the Astros now have one of the best bullpens in the American League, if not in the entire Major League Baseball. I also believe that this move was made to beat the Rangers, to get a strong left-handed arm in the bullpen, to face some of those lefties that they have. So I don't have any problem with that. However, I've said all offseason that I felt like they needed to add some starting pitching as well. Because right now, what you're depending on is Justin Verlander to come back and be as good or possibly better than he was last season, although he's a year older. He had an ERA just over 3 last season. He pitched better for the Astros, a little bit better for the Astros than he did for the Mets. But he was good. And you're expecting him now at age 40, 41 to be just as good. Then you've got some guys who had down years like Framber Valdez and Javier. And they need to also take a step forward. So now there's a chance that they're going to do that. All of these players have performed. They're champions in their own right. So there's no reason to hit the panic button. But I thought myself that the Astros probably could use a little bit more help as a starting pitcher with their starting pitching. And so when I heard that Justin Verlander is behind schedule and his ability to start on day one, opening day, is in jeopardy, that made me pretty concerned. The list of recent 40-plus-year-old pitchers who have had great seasons is already pretty short. In 2005, you had Roger Clemens. Obviously, he pitched for the Astros. Randy Johnson in 2004 for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Go back a little bit further, Nolan Ryan, 1987. Most recently, Bartolo Colon was like 500 years old, and he had a really good season in 2013. But it's pretty rare for in recent years, especially with the way that pitchers aren't allowed to, I don't know, everybody's on a pitch count now, but a lot of pitchers don't pitch into their 40s anyway. But it's pretty rare for 40-plus pitchers to have great seasons. Now, if anybody can do it, obviously, I believe Justin Verlander, one of the greatest right-handed pitchers of all time, has the ability to do so, but it's a little bit concerning. It reminds me a little bit of when the Rockets had acquired Metta World Peace, who was Ron Artest at the time, and everybody was really excited about that team. And media day, Tracy McGrady stands up and he goes, "Hey, everybody, I need microfracture surgery." And just complete nosedive of all of that optimism that there had been for that entire season. I'm not saying that's happening with the Astros. I think there's still plenty of reasons to be optimistic. I think they finally got all their arbitration settled. And so they've got a good team. They should compete definitely for the American League West championship. They definitely should be in the playoffs. And I feel like they have just as good a chance as anybody as making it back to the ALCS and possibly the World Series. So far in the chat, I've got Carissa Anderson. Hello. I've also got Craig Rouse. Thank you for joining. Anybody else who's there, what I want you guys to put in the chat while we're going through the show is, what is one of your guilty pleasures as far as watching on television? Maybe, fellas, it's something that you watch when you're by yourself, but you wouldn't tell anybody else. Now, I'm not talking about adult entertainment, so let's leave that out. I just want to talk about some things outside of sports as well, which we'll try to do on this show often. But getting back to the Astros, if Justin Verlander is not going to be starting on opening day, who should be the starter? I think the easy answer is probably Framber Valdez. Framber was very up and down last season. He looks like he's lost weight, and for all the reports that I've been reading, from what I've been seeing, he's ready for a bounce back year. And so if Framber Valdez and Justin Verlander can be even slightly better than they were last season, this team's still going to be dangerous. There's a lot of familiar but yet new feeling to this Astros team. For instance, Jeremy Pena has got a brand new swing. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but he's no longer doing the bat wag. He's more resting the bat on his shoulder. He's a little bit more still in his stance. I don't know if that's going to help or not, but Jeremy Pena is one of those guys that the Astros are depending on to have a step-up season. Looks like Pops is in the building on YouTube. I appreciate you, sir. Let us know in the chat, Pops, if there's anything that you like to watch. I already know what you should put. My dad is a really big Judge Judy fan. I don't know how many people he tells that. I don't know if he still is. I know he used to be. Pops used to put Judge Judy on DVR. So Craig Rouse says Assassin's Creed. Is that your video game of choice? Okay. That's not bad. We'll get to the chat in a little bit, and we will definitely talk more about some of your guys' guilty pleasures. But I want to know who you think should start on opening day for the Astros, and who you think needs to step up this season for the Astros to get back to the World Series. As I was saying, there's several people on that list. Jeremy Pena needs to have a bounce-back season. I think we need to have a good season out of... I'm sorry, I hate when I do this. I've been very tired and on lots of medication because I've been sick, so you guys bear with me. But Alex Bregman is another guy who needs to have a bounce-back season. Let me tell you why I think Alex Bregman is worth every dollar that they can give him. It's because he's okay to good in the regular season, but that dude balls out in the postseason every year. And to me, that's worth something. And if the Astros don't pay that man, somebody's going to pay him, because they understand it's very similar to Carlos Correa. Just a good, solid player in the regular season, but come the postseason, man, he takes it to another level. So I hope the Astros can find a way to keep him around, to keep Tucker around, the Astros are in this weird window. They're in this weird window where they still have enough young talent on cheap contracts, and they just gave Jose Altuve a contract extension, so he's probably going to be an Astro for life. Other than him and Verlander, and you're not really paying, and Josh Hader now, you're not really paying anybody like outrageous money. You still have arbitration control over Tucker. It's getting close to time to make a decision on Bregman, though. So they're in this weird window. They don't have a lot in the farm system. So they're going to have to win with what they got now. And I still think they are 2-3 years of being competitive, of competing for a championship before they might have to start talking about maybe a soft rebuild. Let's get to the chat on the subject of the Astros. Craig says that Javier and Hunter Brown both need bounce back seasons. I could not agree with you more, buddy. They absolutely do. Like I said, there's a long list of people that need to have bounce back years. I mean, considering how injured they were last season, though, and they were injured a lot. The fact that they won the division and made it back to the ALCS is pretty remarkable. So if they can have just a little bit more luck health-wise, and like I said, have some of these players who had down years, have a bounce-back season, I think they're going to be good. Here's my dark horse. Forrest Whitley, man. It's time for him to make the big team. He's got to make the big team this year. If Forrest Whitley does not make the big team this year, I think you got to figure out, does he have a spot in this franchise? I don't know that he does if he can't make the big team this year. But I'm really excited for Astros baseball. I'm excited to see what this team looks like with a new manager. Now, you guys, if you follow me on social media, you've seen me lament how much the city of Houston absolutely dumped on Dusty Baker for, in my opinion, no good reason. Dusty Baker is one of the greatest minds in baseball, a great human being, and he's forgotten more baseball than most of us know. But a lot of you wanted it, and he's finally gone. And all I say is be careful what you wish for. Now, I have high hopes for Joe Espada. I think he's going to be good. I'm excited to see what's the team going to look like, though. And I recently was on MLB.com and caught a video of him talking a little bit about Justin Verlander, about Jeremy Pena's new swing, and what we can expect the team to look like. So let's check that out.
JV is going to let us know when he's getting close to live BPs, but I thought his side yesterday went well. He woke up today feeling really good, so I am encouraged for where he's at right now. We could do it two ways, getting him like more at bats or longer game on the A games, or going down to the minor leagues and seeing AB. So, but someone like Jeremy who's playing around and getting a feel for that new swing, yes, he'll get some more at bats probably down to the minor leagues. There's opportunities where I thought last year, if we could have taken an extra base with someone or have an at-bat where we had an opportunity to drag somebody in, which is a ground ball or shortstop, that's just the small stuff. Great teams do that. We've done that in years past. So I just want to make it, let them know that those are things that we need to stay on top of it. But it's starting on Saturday, holding runners, primary leads on the base runners, just kind of be more longer and kind of better secondaries, just trying to push the pressure, trying to take extra bases. So once our guys feel like we could push ourselves like leg-wise, like we'll build up to do stuff like that. I want that to be part of our personality as a team. That's all we've done in the past. So I want us to set the tone from the very beginning.
Okay. So Joe Espada feels good about Verlander and his progress. He knows better than us, so I guess we should feel good about it. You guys saw a little bit of Jeremy Pena's new swing. It's a little bit more still, less movement. Hopefully that'll get him quicker to the ball. We'll see. But I like what he said about being more aggressive as far as running the bases. It's going to be hard for the Astros. It's hard to criticize what they've done in the past. I'm not a major league manager, so I don't make any, I try not to criticize managers for their decision making. Like I said, Dusty Baker has forgotten more baseball than I'll ever know. But there are little things they could do better. There was a lot of base running mistakes last season, missed opportunities with runners on base. So it looks like in those situations, maybe Joe Espada is going to be a little bit more aggressive in those situations and try to take advantage of them and get some more runs across the board. It can't hurt. I'm looking forward to seeing what the difference is. I say be careful what you ask for, but I think Joe Espada is going to do good. And I have a confidence that this Astros team will still be very good. Alrighty, let's talk about the state of the Houston Texans. Okay. What can't CJ Stroud do? That's what I want to know. Ever since coming in as a rookie, taking a 2-win team and helping them win 10 games, winning their division, winning a playoff game in a blowout fashion, you wouldn't think he could do much more than that, right? Well, you'd be wrong. He only wins MVP of Travis Scott's celebrity softball game, scores 31 points in the celebrity all-star game for All-Star Weekend in the NBA, balls out in the Pro Bowl games. He's making the podcast circuit during the Super Bowl. He is America's darling quarterback right now, and he's yet to turn into a pumpkin. My question to you is, does that concern you a little bit? CJ Stroud is what, 22 years old? Is he going to have the maturity to quiet down the noise? Here's why I think he will. Because he's already shown an extreme amount of maturity just in everything I talked about earlier. Coming in as a rookie, taking over a team, earning the C on the jersey, leading the team to a winning season, to a division championship, to a playoff win. I mean, it really seems like there's nothing that this kid can't do. And you kind of, as a Houston fan, you start to worry like, okay, when's the shoe going to drop? When's it going to start going bad? But I think he's going to be okay. I really do. And I'm really looking forward to his second season. Of course, we got to get him some weapons. We talked about that in the last show. Got to get him some playmakers to get the ball to. But yeah, man, I mean, for all of you Houston sports fans who said they never give us any love, we're getting about as much love as you possibly can for somebody who hasn't, won a championship yet. But this honeymoon will not last long. If CJ Stroud does not continue to win, if he doesn't take steps forward and get this team where they've never been before, an AFC championship game and hopefully a Super Bowl, eventually people are going to start coming with more criticism than not. And so, yeah, I think he's going to handle it just fine. Part of my CJ Stroud is actually part of my off the field story, because off the field, we may have some Cougars that are after some of our young Houston athletes. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I think if CJ can keep his head on straight, stay grounded, he seems to have a really good family. And I think he understands that as much as everybody loves him right now, it's only because of how he plays football. Once the football piece is gone, they're not going to love you nearly as much. Just ask Baker Mayfield, who had one good season. Ask Lamar Jackson, who won MVP this season, and people are still on his case. They only love you as long as you're balling out. So it can go away quickly. So I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. I think that he 100% can handle the pressure of the spotlight, and we're just very, very, very lucky to have him as our quarterback. But yeah, he'll be a part of our off the field stories as well. Let's get to the state of the Houston Rockets really quick. Okay, now that All-Star is over, the Rockets are sitting in 12th in the West. They're 2.5 games out of the play-in, 8.5 games out of the 6th seed, which would guarantee them a playoff spot. There's only 28 games left in the season. barring a miracle, I don't think they're getting up to 6. There's just too many teams in front of them, not enough games left, and just based on the way they've been playing, I don't see that happening. However, you've got the Lakers and the Warriors, 2 veteran teams that have been struggling this season who are ahead of you. You have some other teams that you can overtake to at least get yourself in the play-in. I think if the Rockets get themselves in the play-in, they would consider this season a success. I mean, they have to consider this season a success if they don't finish last out of the entire league, which they've done for the last 3 or 4 seasons. But the question is, like, is this team going to be able to make a push? Now, Ime Udoka says that he may be changing the starting lineup and the rotations. If I was Jalen Green, that would make me nervous. Now, Jalen Green survived the trade deadline. He's still a member of the team, and he's actually been playing really well recently. The problem is it's not translating into wins. And what I've noticed is that even the things when the Rockets were winning early, they were hanging their hat on defense. For a good portion of the season, they were top 5 in defense, top 10 in defense. Well, they keep sliding back and back and back, and now I believe they're 21st in defense and they're 28th in offense. That is a good recipe to get you in a lottery. So I think they're going to have to make a turnaround, and they're going to have to do it rather quickly. My question is, who should be in the starting 5? I mean, you figure Alpi Şengün, he's going to be in there. I don't really see a reason why you would take out Brooks. He's still a good defender. He's being paid a lot of money. Fred VanVleet's been suffering with injuries, so the youngster Amen Thompson's been starting in his stead. But when Fred VanVleet is ready to go, do you maybe bring him off the bench? I don't know. I'll tell you what, I'm not envious of Udoka's situation. I think he's going to get a little bit of grace and a little bit of time. I think the fast start by the Rockets was maybe bad for him because now it looks like they're falling apart, when in reality, this team probably is right about where they should be. They're about where the Orlando Magic were last season, and now the Orlando Magic are a very good team in the East. But I talked about it in my last rehearsal or 2 rehearsals ago. If there's one thing that's lacking in sports, it's patience. People don't have the patience to wait for you to get better. And I think that's all really what the Rockets need is some time. Next season, they're going to have Steven Adams. They'll probably add some more veterans to take the place of people like Boban, take the place of Jeff Green. So they'll be bringing in players that are going to help bring a winning attitude. We just got to give them some time. Jalen Green, I've said this many times, even when I get impatient with him, I have to remind myself that he's 21 years old. He's closer to my kid's age than he is my age. I cannot, in good conscience, dog this man, although he may also be having some off-season distractions, which we will get into in a little while. But at 20, he just turned 22. I still want to give him some time. He's a great talent. I don't think there's anybody else on this team who can do what he's capable of doing. So even if the Rockets don't make the play-in or the playoffs this season, I don't think that should be the bar that we judge whether it was a successful season or not. And I mentioned that Rafael Stone said the same thing. He said it's really not about wins and losses for me. It's about the product on the court. Is it better? I don't think anybody watching this right now would say that their product, even recently, has not been better than it was a season ago. So I think that the Houston Rockets are going to take some more patience. Of our 3 teams, our 3 majors, they probably have the longest way to go. But I think they also have a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons for us to be optimistic about them. But yeah, they got to start winning some games. So we'll see what happens. They're actually playing right now. The game probably started half an hour ago. They're playing the New Orleans Pelicans. So we'll see how they look coming out of the break. But I have high hopes for them. And I really hope that they're going to continue moving forward. Now, each and every one of those segments that I did, whether it was Texans, whether it was Astros, whether it's Rockets, or sometimes Houston Dynamo, as soon as I get my Houston Dynamo correspondent to join the show, we'll be talking them as well. But I just want to let you guys know that your business could be sponsoring any one of those segments. Each time we start one of those segments, I will do a brief read of your business. Anybody who was watching the show before it started, I'll also be playing ads before the show starts. They could be your business. If you're interested in advertising on the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast, please contact me. You can either DM me on Facebook. You can email hsstateoftheunionpod@gmail.com. Or some of you have my phone number. I'm easy to find. Just look up in the phone book if you can find one of those. I might still be in there. I doubt it. But yeah, if you guys would like to advertise on the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast, please reach out to me. I would love to help you build your brand, and let's build our brands together. All right. Guilty pleasures off the field. All right. I'm going to be the first one to admit that mine are cheesy, sleazy dating shows on Netflix. My wife and I have been watching Love is Blind, and actually, I'm the one who got her hooked on Love is Blind. I was watching it before her. I'm embarrassed to say, but it's the truth. And anybody who's either watched Love is Blind, Too Hot to Handle, The Ultimatum, like, I can't imagine any sane person volunteering to be on any one of these shows, but you just can't look away from it, man. And you get caught up in the drama. What's funny is when me and my wife watch these shows, anytime, like for instance, Love is Blind, if you're not familiar with the show, they take people and they divide them into these two houses. There's a house full of single men. There's a house full of single women. And what they do is they allow them to date one another, but they don't see one another. So they have these pods that are adjoining, and there's a wall between them, and they just talk to each other, and they all date one another until they decide, ooh, I really like this person. And the idea of the show is to try to fall in love with someone that you've never seen before. And the crazy thing is that you have to propose to this person within, like, I think it's 2 weeks, however long they're in the pods, 11 days, I think it is. You're supposed to propose to someone before you ever see this person. It sounds crazy. I know it is crazy. Trust me. But I already see Craig in the comments on Facebook judging me. He says, I can't imagine any sane person watching these shows. Look, bro, don't knock it till you try it. I guarantee you that the first time you watch, just pick one. Too Hot to Handle, Love is Blind, either one. I guarantee you it's going to get you hooked. One of the reasons I like to watch is because it makes me feel good about my life. Whenever you see people who are an absolute train wreck, it just makes you feel a little bit better about yourself. Like, these people really suck at love, and I feel sorry for them, but it's also funny at the same time. Ron Barrett says, Steph and I watched that. Thank you. 100% drama. Ron Barrett knows what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's my guilty pleasure. Matter of fact, I was up till like midnight last night. My wife fell asleep while we were watching. I probably watched a couple of episodes ahead of her. I couldn't turn away from it, man. It's too crazy. Either way, so going back to the show though, after they propose to one another, then they like have to meet and they like live together for a little while. They go back to their hometown. They have to meet each other's families. And then after like, 4 or 5 weeks, they have to decide, like, they have an actual wedding and they have to choose at the altar whether to say yes or not. It's absolutely insane. It's addictive. You can't look away from it. And if you're married and you found true love and you did it either the traditional way or maybe some non-traditional ways, it's just hilarious to see these people. It's got to be a special type of desperation to join a show like that. But hey, I would say my wife and I, we got together in a non-conventional way. So who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? But that is one of my guilty pleasures. Let's go to the chat and see what some of yours are. Oh yeah, Pops. Pops loves American Idol. That's true. Pop, do you still DVR American Idol? My dad and I lived together for a little while when I was younger. And American Idol and Judge Judy. That is what you would find on his DVR. And I'm not going to lie, I watched both of them because Judge Judy, I still mess with Judge Judy. Judge Judy's cool. Let's see. My wife is in the chat, the first lady of Houston Sports Nation. She says, I was working late last night and texting a new hire late at night. I'm all like, sorry to text so late, but, and she replies with, no problem, I'm binging Love is Blind. I'm telling you, man, right now, Craig, you have Netflix. Turn on season 1, episode 1 of Love is Blind and tell me that you're not entertained. Okay? I challenge you right now. As a matter of fact, I have your t-shirt that you won. I'm not giving it to you until you tell me what the first episode of Love is Blind is about. Oh, man. Yeah, my pop says he still records American Idol. You know what? American Idol probably has the best judges right now that they've had in a while. My favorite season was when Steven Tyler was the judge, just because I'm a huge Steven Tyler fan. He's like on my bucket list of people to go see in concert, which still might happen. I've got tickets, but apparently his throat fell out or something like that. So my wife and I are waiting to see if we're going to go. But yeah, what are some of your other guilty pleasures? Craig said he plays Assassin's Creed. Look, man, get the picture in picture, bro. Play across Assassin's Creed, and watch Love is Blind. I'm telling you, man, you're going to be hooked. Yeah. My wife is telling everyone, yes, I got her hooked, and Ron says Steph got me hooked. Okay, so before Love is Blind and all those Netflix dating shows, funny story, my wife, my brother-in-law, Chris Clark, and my sister-in-law, Haley Clark, we used to get together on family dinner night and we would watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, which I can't believe that show is still on. It's so bad that they went ahead and did a Golden Bachelor, which I watched about 13 seconds of that and I had to turn it off. It made me want to throw up. No offense to old people, but yeah, it just wasn't good. It was not good. So, but yeah, that's what we used to do. So my guilty pleasure is those stupid dating shows and watching my dad's Judge Judy reruns. Maury, anybody used to watch Maury? That's another one of my guilty pleasures. My favorite thing about Maury is the cameraman. That dude must be like an athletic sprinter because he's always chasing those women to the back after they find out that he is not the daddy. So, but yeah, Maury's not even on anymore. So unless you're watching reruns, you're not going to get to enjoy those. Let's see. We got any other guilty pleasures in the chat? So the fact that I watch dating shows is actually probably not the craziest guilty pleasure. When I was a youngster, back in 1997, when the WNBA first started, they used to play the WNBA games on Lifetime. Excuse me. Yeah, the games would play on Lifetime. And so you ask my wife, like, anytime there's a sporting event, if we're going somewhere, or whether it's my daughter's competition, like, I feel like we're going to be late if we're not there 2 hours early. So I used to turn on Lifetime about 2 hours before the game started. And that's back when they used to play Designing Women. And what was the other show? Oh, but no, like Designing Women was my jam. It was like Designing Women and like Three's Company or something like that. Both of those shows were my jam, bro. Like, and I don't know where you can watch Designing Women now. I'm going to have to look that up. Surely there's somewhere you can watch that show. But I got hooked on Designing Women and Golden Girls. That's what it was. Designing Women and Golden Girls used to come on right before the WNBA games. And I would turn on Lifetime 2 hours early and watch that. And then usually after the WNBA game. There'd be some Lifetime movie about a woman who killed her husband because he was abusive. Which one? Take your pick. They were all like that. They were all the same. Actually, do you guys remember that one Lifetime movie where like the roles were reversed and the woman was beating the man? If you know what it's titled, please put it in the chat because I got to go find that too. Pop says old school Love Connection. I dig Love Connection. That was a good show. Dad, you might not remember this, but when we lived in Los Angeles, you remember we used to roll around. We'd be walking around. We'd be visiting, downtown Hollywood and all that stuff. And in Los Angeles, people will just be walking down the street with clipboards and they want to know if you want to be in the audience of a game show or a talk show. And it's free. In fact, sometimes they pay you a few bucks to do it if they're having a hard time finding people. But one day I had to be 16, which means my brother was 7, 8 years old, maybe. He might have been a little bit older, 11 or 12. But yeah, our family's walking down the street. My cousin Celeste had been visiting us, and somebody with a clipboard walks by and says, "Hey, you guys want to be on this show? It's called Change of Heart." Change of Heart was another one of those crazy dating shows where a couple would come there and the show would set this couple up with each of them up with a date with someone else, and they would go on a date with someone else. Then they'd come back and talk about it, and they have to decide whether they're staying together or having a change of heart. And there was children in the audience watching this show. It was crazy. And maybe that's where it all started for me. Maybe it was watching WNBA, watching Lifetime, and then, watching all these cheesy dating shows, Love Connection, Change of Heart. Fast forward, now we have The Bachelor, and we have all the cheesy dating shows on Netflix. So yeah, that is my guilty pleasure. Pop says Designing Women is on Hulu. Bro, we just got Hulu. So, baby, I think I know once Love is Blind is over, what we'll be watching next. All right, guys. In conclusion, I thank you guys so much for joining me. But the State of the Union in Houston is strong. It's still strong. We've got a great baseball team that's getting ready to fire the season up. Very optimistic about the Houston Texans. The Rockets' trajectory is still upward. So the State of the Union is strong. And if you guys believe so and believe in that, then I want you to keep joining me every week, starting on, drumroll please. That was a terrible drumroll. I should have put one on the soundboard. March 21st. Thank you. March 21st will be the premiere of the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast. And I hope you guys will be joining me every week. And what we'll do is we'll take the temperature of our teams. We'll take the temperature of the city. But I also want to talk about life. I want to talk about sports. Today we talked about some of our guilty pleasures. You know what? I can't skip this because I promised it. Before I conclude, it's a good thing I read my notes. First of all, Ron's telling me to watch Love Island, which I think I've watched that once. That was crazy. But we got to talk about this outbreak of cougars in Houston. My father mentioned this briefly in the chat. We have two young, soon to be very well paid. Well, they're well paid now, but they're going to be making life-changing money pretty soon. Young athletes in the city of Houston, one being Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets, and the other being CJ Stroud of the Houston Texans. And there's some rumors going around about both of them. Now, if you guys know anything about me, I be trying to stay out of people's business. And the question is, should we be concerned about some of these rumors going around? Let's start with Jalen Green. Jalen Green has just turned 22. And allegedly, he may have impregnated a 47-year-old Drea Michelle. Now, if anybody doesn't know who Drea Michelle is, maybe I guess one of your guilty pleasures is not watching cheesy reality shows because she was formerly on Basketball Wives. I believe she's been on some other similar reality TV shows like that. She's an Instagram model, a businesswoman. She has a son who is Jalen Green's age. And very well may be pregnant with Jalen Green's son, or daughter, with his baby. And I'm kind of torn on how to feel about this because Jalen Green, he's an adult. He's a grown man. But Dre and Michelle has already had one baby from a very famous and rich athlete. And I got to say, this kind of feels like Jalen Green was targeted by someone trying to get the bag. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe, number one, I don't even think it's been confirmed that this woman is pregnant, but there's a lot of speculation. They've been seen together multiple times in what you would call, I don't know, romantic embraces. So I don't know how to feel about that. Here's what I think. If Jalen Green were 47 and Dre and Michelle were 22, pretty much everyone would be appalled by this. I think there's nobody who would look at that situation and not say that man is a predator. But we have a double standard when it comes to things like this. It's the same thing when we find out about all these teachers who are having inappropriate relationships with their students. When it's a male teacher and a female student, we're disgusted. We're appalled. When it's a female teacher and a young male student, we're all like, oh yeah, that guy's living the dream. And that just feels wrong. That feels dirty, man. I don't like that. And, you know, when I was a young man, before I had children, I probably would have been saying the same thing. Living the dream. Living the dream. But no, like, these are young people. It does, regardless of whether they're male or female, and they're being targeted. And I think a young 15, 16-year-old Jalen Green probably used to see Dre and Michelle on Instagram, on television, probably maybe even had posters over. Do kids still put up posters? Maybe not posters. Excuse me. Kids probably don't put up posters. But he probably had lusted for this woman at a very young, pubescent age. And there's no way in hell that she doesn't know that. Like, of course she knows that. So all of a sudden, you're 20. He came into the league, he was what, 19? You're 19 years old. You come into the league, all of a sudden you got millions of dollars. Now there's women throwing themselves at you. And here comes Dre and Michelle, the one woman that you've always wanted to meet. And she wants to have an intimate relationship with you. Yes, he's a grown man, but he's also a kid. His brain's not fully developed. Like, something just feels really nasty about it. And to answer the question, should we be concerned? Yeah, we should probably be concerned. We should absolutely probably be concerned because my father brings up a very good point. James Harden was dating a Kardashian for a little while, and he didn't have a good season that year. Now, Dre Michelle's not a Kardashian, but she's of that same ilk, you could say. Someone who loves to have the attention on them. Someone who will. What's the question that I'm trying to weigh my words carefully because I don't want to come across as like a woman hater or anything because I'm not. But this particular situation just feels gross to me. And like I said, if the roles were reversed, it would be equally gross to me. But Jalen Green will probably at some point be a max contract player. And unless Dre and Michelle is the love of his life and they're going to spend the rest of their lives together, if she is really pregnant, he is going to be paying an exorbitant amount of child support for the next 18 years. And I think that's really unfortunate. But he's a grown man. He made that bed, no pun intended. He's got to lie in it. So I have a little bit of concern because Jalen Green seems to already not handle distraction well. On the other hand, CJ Stroud, I mentioned earlier, was at Travis Scott's All-Star Celebrity Softball game won the MVP. He was spotted leaving with Amber Rose. I don't know, is he like using James Harden's little black book? Because, man, do people have little black books anymore? I'm really aging myself, aren't I? He was spotted leaving the softball game with Amber Rose. Now, immediately Amber Rose shot down any suspicion or that they had something going on. Supposedly, it was just as simple as her Sprinter van left her. She just met CJ. They didn't know each other. And he offered her a ride home. I'm trying to figure out where she got the baseball cap that said CJ on it. And was that for CJ Stroud? I wasn't there. I don't know these people. I don't watch enough TMZ. Maybe I should. All I know is that a lot of people are now concerned that these much, much older women are influencing these younger men, and they're young men who have lots of money, lots of influence, and lots of responsibility. And are they going to be able to handle all of this off-the-court drama and attention? If I had to put my money on one of them, I'd say CJ Stroud is okay. And CJ Stroud just giving Amber Rose a ride home, I could see that. He's a nice guy. But, I mean, he's also a grown man. He's got a lot of money. And he's got options now. So if he wants to go down that path, that's his business. Like, should we really care is the question. Why are we so obsessed with celebrities, celebrity culture, celebrity gossip? Maybe it's the same reason I watch Love is Blind, because it just makes us feel better about our lives. I go home to a dime piece every night. She is my wife. Her ride never leaves her, but she still comes home with me. So I don't know, man. I'm happy in my relationship with my life, so I try not to be too involved in other people's, but I do give a damn about sports. I do give a damn about the Houston Rockets and the Houston Texans being successful. So it's something to look at, something to keep an eye on. It's been in the news. We got to put them cougar traps out at the Toyota Center and at NRG Stadium, man. Keep them away. Keep them away. Kyle Tucker's getting a bag soon, too, so who knows who he'll end up with. Maybe Taylor Swift will come date Kyle Tucker for now, after she's done with Travis Kelce. Who knows? Who knows? Anyways, but yes, now I can say in conclusion that the state of the Houston sports nation is a very strong union. I appreciate you guys so much for joining. Once again, a reminder of the ways you can support the show. Once again, keep doing what you're doing. Just watch it, share it, comment. I appreciate you guys so much for being here, participating in the chat. I cannot explain how fortunate I feel to have you guys to support me. If you guys can share this thing with your friends, they can share it with their friends. Let's grow this thing, and let's grow our businesses together. Like I said, if you want to advertise on the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast, I'd be more than happy to do that. Lastly, while I'm making announcements, I said March 21st is the premiere. Stevenson Media is trying to do some things. I'll just say this. It's nothing official yet, but I have a very important meeting with someone tomorrow who is considering hiring me to produce their podcast. And the reason I decided, after all these years, people have been asking me to do this for a while. This particular young lady, I just knew was getting had by somebody else who was offering to do probably not even half of what I'm going to do. And I want to talk to you guys about this because I want to talk to you about the power of self-doubt and overcoming it. So I didn't think I was ready to help anybody podcast. I didn't think I knew enough. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I had a good enough following until I start talking to this young lady. And I realized, like, I have some things that I can help people with that's valuable. And just maybe keep them from getting ripped off by predators out there who take advantage of people who are inexperienced in this field, who maybe have very, very high hopes, but don't understand exactly what it takes to build something from the ground up, develop a following, start a community. It takes a lot of work. And so I'm excited to announce that Stevenson Media is getting into the business of also producing other people's podcasts. I'm going to try to close this deal tomorrow. I hope it works out. But if any of you out there are looking to start your own podcast and want some help, please, once again, contact me. You can DM me on social media, Nick E. Stevenson on Facebook, Nick Stevenson 5 on Instagram. You guys can email me at hsstateoftheunionpod@gmail.com. That does not roll off the tongue very well, does it? But yes, your boy's out here trying to do some things, and I appreciate all of your support. I appreciate you guys being here to watch this show. I will see you guys on the 21st, live and in living color. Hopefully I'll be feeling better. My voice won't be gone. But until then, my friends, I love you guys very much, and I cannot thank you enough for being here. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
This has been the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast, hosted by Nick Stevenson. Tune in next week for more news and analysis of your favorite Houston teams. Please follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, the app, formerly known as Twitter, if that's even really still a thing. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.